So thank you everyone for joining. This will be our first webinar of the season. It might be a little bit early, but we know there's going to be tons of content to push out over the next few months. And we know people's schedules vary when it comes to availability. So we're excited to have all of you. We see on the call, we've got folks right across North America. We have a few over in Europe and one or two from Australia and New Zealand, which is awesome. If there's questions, comments, feel free to either put it in the chat or in the Q&A if that's enabled. Excited to have all of you. We're going to go through some cool interviews, some actual real live, I don't want to say testimonials, but experiences of individuals as to what they've felt when it comes to, I wouldn't say improving, but changing their operation from paper manual process to digital, and the benefits and the trends and the cost savings, whether it's a single sheet rink all the way up to a 16 sheet owner of a number of different facilities. We have a follow-up survey at the end, so it'll pop up, and if you just can answer those 3 or 4 questions, that'll be very helpful for us to gauge the value of it. Follow-up desire to learn more, that would be very helpful. So as a quick introduction to some of the panelists here, we've got Mike Craig. He'll do a lot better job introducing himself and his experience that he's had over the last few decades. Matt McCarthy as well, who works for the Dallas Stars community rinks, and Mike Petrocelli from the University of Pennsylvania and their rink there. Mike Craig will get into his experience working for the NHL and his new role at Jet Ice, and Mike and I have had the opportunity to work together over the last few months and really share ideas and perspectives of what would benefit the industry and what tools are valuable when it comes to accessibility of information and how they can leverage that for decision making. So we'll start by passing things over to Mike. We're going to keep this webinar about 45 minutes, under an hour. Feel free to ask your questions as we move along. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here, actually. Like Zach said, I mean, we've been working on some different things together over the last few months since I've joined Jet Ice. Yeah, there's some exciting things here that I know that Zach's really excited to share, and we can kind of help maybe kind of guide through the process and some of the options that Zach has available here. But I know that Zach really wanted me to go through a little bit of my background and work history. I mean, I've been doing that in the industry for, well over 25 years. So I'll try not to bore everyone, but a little bit of kind of background. I did education at SAIT, which is a technical school in Calgary. Took a recreation operations course there that had a power engineering component to it. Once graduating from there, moved to Kelowna, British Columbia, where a new multi-purpose arena was being built. What a 6,500 seat arena. It was home to the Kelowna Rockets of the Western Hockey League. Very good learning experience there. Very busy little building in Canada. Learned a lot about ice operations, game day operations, all the mechanical systems, conversions, working special events, shows, all of that. So that was really kind of where kind of cut my teeth in the industry and learned a ton there. From there, moved over to Athletica as a sales rep. So really kind of had a chance to really learn about kind of the boards and glass and arena products and a lot of the details surrounding that. The next stop was up working with the Edmonton Oilers Hockey Club. Very fortunate to have landed there, worked there for just over a year, so not a long stop there, but was really lucky and was able to work the 2006 Stanley Cup Finals. And again, just a great learning opportunity to be around an event such as that. My next kind of adventure, I moved back to Kelowna, British Columbia. Started my own kind of consulting, ice painting business where really focused on education training within the industry. Through that time, was fortunate enough to be able to work a lot of National Hockey League events, a lot of outdoor games, some of their different kind of marquee events. And through that experience, I was actually hired by the NHL full-time in 2013. So through that stretch, worked with them for just over kind of 13 seasons. 2 parts really kind of to that job, just kind of for background, was a lot of looking after and managing kind of the field of play. So kind of boards, glass, arena environment, obviously ice and ice conditions, the install there, and working with everybody kind of within those buildings for the special events. So whether it was our outdoor games, games in China, games over in Europe, Hockeyville events, which were some of my favorites over the years. But so really kind of working a lot of NHL special events, and then the other kind of side of that was working with all of the arena managers and venue staff at the NHL facilities as far as kind of the building environment and kind of monitoring those conditions, and then working with that group to develop policies and procedures kind of around the game and making the conditions the best they could possibly be for the NHL. So spent a number of years there. Was obviously very fortunate to be part of that. Worked with a lot of amazing people. And then kind of the most recent adventure, which Zach had kind of touched on, is I just started with Jedice as the vice president of business development. I just switched over this spring, so definitely a new and exciting opportunity for me here. As Zach mentioned, there's Jedice has been doing a lot of great work as far as the research within the industry, doing a lot of education training. The research part was interested me a lot. There's a partnership with Toronto Metropolitan University currently where they're doing a ton of research on floodwater quality and kind of how that impacts, whether it's the TDS, friction, glide, kind of all the different aspects that kind of relate to our industry. So that's kind of the next adventure. So a little bit long-winded, so I apologize, but like I said, it's been over 25 years, so trying to kind of capture everything there, but that's kind of where we are. So, but I know that we really kind of wanted to dive into Sub-Zero and that platform. Kind of just in experience here, having done this for over 25 years, there's been a lot of transition with kind of the way we do things within the industry, and obviously keeping logs and keeping up with our maintenance programs and all of those kind of things has always been important. But having been able to work with Zach and Sub-Zero, I think that they're doing some really cool and innovative things, and that's why I'm kind of said I would definitely help out with Zach here as we kind of walk through this. So I'll kind of turn it back over to Zach maybe to kind of walk us through some of the features here today.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you for
Yeah.
that comprehensive overview. It's cool to see just the variety of experience that you have and the perspective you'll bring to this webinar and the feedback of, this isn't just a tool for large venues and technology, but it really starts with small community rinks and it can work all the way across. Before I get into showing the platform, I want to kind of backfill who we are as an organization and where we've come from. So we've been around for about 40 years. This is a family-owned business. 10 years ago, ORFA, the Ontario Recreation Facilities Association, we reached out and we had a conversation about building a tool for organizations to collect facility information. So inventory of hockey rinks, parks, facilities. That started to grow over the last 10 years to do work orders, inspections, life cycle planning, a variety of different modules and features. One of the users 2-3 years ago was True North Sports and Entertainment based in Winnipeg, the Canada Life Center. And they use this for managing their rinks and their restaurants and their theaters and their public park grounds. So they reached out to us and said, hey, we're using your RFAN platform, but for our ice step checks for NHL game day events, it'd be nice if we had a digital inspection that we could do our 37 or our 52 points drill, type in the ice depth, and if we could have a cool PDF that'll just lay out all those readings. They said, if you build something like that, we feel tons of rinks would use it. We said, yeah, okay, we're not sure, but we'll try it out. We'll see what happens. And they were absolutely right. So this tool's been around for 2 years now. October of 2024, we officially launched it for anybody to sign on. We had beta tested it for a year with a handful of existing customers and rinks we had, from California all the way to the East Coast. And this system continued to grow now to the point where this past season up till today, 500 rinks. Even rinks over in Europe and in England have signed on, which is beyond our wildest expectations, and variety from NCAA to OHL, community rinks, even out in Alaska. Um, we'll go through the features and functions of how this tool works, but the idea of being able to have a Bluetooth caliper, a device, your custom readings, your custom logos, where your ice resurfacer gate is, making it extremely simple and easy for your operators. Mike, do you think that's a good quick overview and we can kind of get into the platform?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that was well done. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just going to switch my area here just to our demo area, uh, and then we'll get going. So I'm just going to sign out here. Everything's all on the cloud, easily accessible. It's all stored on AWS. If you have specific questions, feel free to reach out. We are working on actually building an app on the App Store, which we'll show you. But this is all formatted for a mobile device or an iPad. We suggest using an iPad mini. It's the ideal size. It's just a little bit bigger than a cell phone, still fits in the palm of your hand, gives you all the information you need without carrying around a laptop, but still whatever device of your choice, feel free to use. Uh, Everyone can be given their own unique login. There's no cost per user. This page here will be all of your widgets and trends, and I'll show you a beta version we have that's coming out soon. We'll talk about all of these additional modules near the end of the webinar, but we'll start with our main and most important one, the ice step check. October 1st of last year, we had just released the ice step check. Since then, all these other modules and components have all been released in the last 9 months. So the system's continuing to grow and expand with feedback from organizations and rinks as to what they need for a true ice management system. You might have something in place for security or work orders or life cycle planning. That's completely fine. But this tool here is specific for your ice. So whether you're an Ontario municipality who already has an asset management platform, that's completely fine. And we know that unfortunately rec directors don't get to choose what they use for asset management. But when it comes to ice management, that's completely under your control and how we've been able to have success with a platform like this. So I'll start with the ice steps here. There's a number of different templates, 29, 37, 52, 6 points, and an edging depth, which we'll get into. But you log in, you can pick your facility. So here's one facility here. You can pick your rink, multiple rinks for multiple facilities. Press start, and there's your custom rink layout for that specific rink with the orientation of where your ice resurfacer gate is. So whether it's here or on this corner, your staff know, okay, from here, I need to walk out to the opposite side, start at point 1. Once they click there, a Bluetooth caliper, you can get them on Amazon. You hold the button for 3 or 4 seconds for it to pair to your device. There you see now that it's turned solid, it's automatically connected, so you don't have to pair it every single time. And it works just like a Bluetooth keyboard. So there's nothing proprietary or fancy or special to do with this. The device thinks that you're just typing in 1.34. So you still drill the ice. We don't put anything in the ice, on your concrete slab, nothing. You drill, you stick the bottom into the ice, you click the button, and there you go. It automatically writes to the platform your ice depth. There's a ping sound, so you can leave the iPad on the player's bench, turn the volume all the way up, and do 29 points, 37 points in about 7 minutes. And you can do it all by yourself or have one staff member. You no longer have 2 staff members walking around and following together or taking the drill out and estimating, yeah, it's around 1.5 inches. This is extremely accurate, stores and saves it for each and every point. And the value of this is no messy handwriting. You can aggregate, you can do trends. And because we're doing the same points, you can then start to trend your goalie nets, your goal creases, sorry, because it's always 0.2 and 0.28. And you can see those trends over a month, 6 months, compare with other rinks you might oversee or manage. If you have problem areas, tracking and monitoring those all in one spot. Once I finish this here, I'll just show you in a second. You can also add, a common request is the ability to add custom points. So maybe these 29 points are great, but you know you have a problem area in one spot. That's your high spot on the concrete that isn't here on these 29 points. All you need to do is drag and drop those problem areas that you have, and you can move it and add those points and those values, and it stays there for all of your operators to go ahead and use. These features, I've never worked a day in a rink in my life, and I know I wouldn't survive a day, but these features are all accessible from folks like yourself providing us feedback to build a tool that we're extremely proud of. Once that's done, you press complete, save, store it to the cloud, all of your data in one spot. Calculates your maximum, your thickest point, your thinnest point, your average, and your variance instantly. You don't have to walk back and put the book somewhere or carry it around, all stored to the cloud, and anyone can now access this data, time stamped, and tells you exactly who did it. Mike, anything you want to add? Anything I've missed?
No, I think you went through that very thoroughly. Yeah, the one thing I was gonna bring up, I know that we had talked about, and I think what Zach talked or mentioned was that all the floors are different. Like every rink I've been to, there's always a high spot in a certain spot or a lower spot that they need to deal with, or especially a higher spot in the concrete that where the ice gets a little bit thinner. Those areas obviously where we need to kind of concentrate on or definitely be aware of, and this really helps kind of monitor that. And to Zach's point, I know he'll talk about it in a little bit, but just the ability to trend that as well is really beneficial. So I know that maybe Matt and Mike will talk to it a little bit, but the ease of it from what I've seen and heard is really kind of one of the key things. So when we talk about being having a consistent ice maintenance plan kind of across league, making something like this as easy as what Zach has made it is really cool.
Thanks, Mike. And
Yeah.
as you allude to, right, we wouldn't be able to have this success of 500 plus rinks signing on if it wasn't an easy to use platform. The word of mouth on this tool is phenomenal, where we hear people that either worked at a different municipality move to another one and say, hey, I don't want to go back to writing this in a book. This is the software used at a different facility. Has been awesome. Matt, maybe we can include you in now, so then you don't have to hang around for the hour and you can get back on the road. Do you want to share your perspective? How many years have we been talking about collaborating on certain projects? How did Sub-Zero seem like that slam dunk? Where did you guys start with Frisco, and why did it seem like a no-brainer to roll it out across all 16 sheets? And what's the uptake, and how often are they doing it? Just a little overview.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Zach. What can I say? We, like you had mentioned, we started using the software in Frisco. So that's the America Center where the Stars practice facility is. And on one of the sheets, we had one of the laser machines. So we already had assumed that our ice was pretty flat, but what Sub-Zero was able to do for us was verify that. But the real benefit came when we included it over on the other side that didn't have the laser. We were able to identify our floor, like Mike had alluded to before, and nobody's floor is perfectly flat. I like to talk about water. If you're in the boat and you've got your depth finder on, you might be in 10 foot of water. You could hit her over 25 feet and be in 30 foot of water. You haven't gone up or down in height, but the floor has moved on you. So sometimes you need to track site. You need to track different points in your rink. You have those difficult spots. So on the side that didn't have the laser machine, we were able to follow those troublesome spots. And in Texas, we have such difficult soil that moves on us. It's been a real game changer for us. Once we were able to really fall in love with the product, we were able to sign on the rest of our facilities, and we operate eight rinks in total, so 16 sheets of ice. I was, I'll be honest, I was a little bit not nervous, but I was wondering how it was going to get rolled out with my crew. I've got a really wide range of old time hockey rink managers that, don't love change, and I've got guys that are all about it. And every single one of them has bought on. They think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Um, you show them how to do it, and you say just press the button and move on to the next point, and how much time it saves, um, and the data you're able to pull off of it. Just being able to see your trending data from day to day to day and week to week to week, and being able to see those points fall into place is pretty outstanding. So everybody's really enjoying using it. Um, and we're getting some really great data. We're getting some really great data. So what else haven't I touched on, Zach? What else am I missing?
You're you're good. Do you mind if I show the heat map? Is that okay?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Um, so what we've built based on the feedback from Matt and others is if you have one rink, it's fine. You can look it up and you can see the readings right away. Once you have two, three, even more than four sheets of ice, and if you have an NHL rink and practice facilities, an AHL and community rinks, and you're managing multiple sheets, it's a struggle to monitor and oversee, if I'm a manager or director, what's going on all these pads. Or you'd have to go to each book or even log into a system and go rink by rink by rink, which could take 20 minutes, a half hour of time that you don't have. Having a tool like this with the heat map, you can now see every single rink in one spot. When was the last time an ice step check was done? So you can see today already, 4 were done. Yesterday, 2 were done. The day before, all in one spot. You got your ice out here, obviously. Um, Edging, which we'll touch on, is brand new. How many points are over 2 inches? How many points are under 3/4 of an inch? The average ice thickness on your rinks currently, and your average variance. Matt, do you want to chat to the value of this, having it in one spot, and from your perspective or Jack's perspective, being able to see all of this right away, and how it's maybe changed from what you maybe couldn't have done literally a month ago?
All I know is I hope some of my managers are watching this webinar, because we're going to have a conversation maybe.
But I think that's the point, right, Matt? I mean, that's the idea, that you're able to kind of manage, a number of ice surfaces kind of at the same time, and really kind of get a snapshot as to kind of what's going on, maybe, company wide, especially if you have multiple sheets that you're maintaining. So, I think again, for the ease of kind of managing the projects and be able to kind of see kind of what's going on, almost, I wouldn't say real time, but I mean, you're able to kind of monitor, all those different facilities kind of, in kind of one place, I think is pretty cool too.
And I joke, I mentioned before, our soil down here it really is unreal. I've got rinks that have so much heave that we can't we have to do some pretty special things to the surface of our ice just to keep it flat. And sometimes when you've got some of these problems, you've got to carry more than 2 inches, which is, I think Zach's going to talk about that levelness and that slab data too, which is, a whole nother conversation, but outstanding stuff too. So
And Matt, do you mind if I just show the trends really quickly?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. So we just showed you a live look, as Mike said, as close as possible to what your existing ice step is. But in a few clicks, you can look and see trends over your last year, your last season, your last month, picking all of your pads all at once. Uh, and as Matt said, he's being very honest about the condition of the soil and of their floors and what they have to deal with. But now they can validate that through data. It's no longer about hiding it and being able to see these trends. So here's exactly what we spoke about, but with real data. Their 2 pads started using it a month or 2 in advance. They loved it, rolled it out. Look at how many ice steps each and every single facility has done in a month. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 ice steps per sheet, all in one spot. We have other rinks as well that have multiple sheets out in California, and they shared with us saying, we've done more ice steps in the last 6 months than we did in the last 20 years because of how much time we're saving before we couldn't find time, operator buy-in, and the ability to see trends and analytics. And they're seeing their ice quality and their ice levels, harder ice, faster ice, saving on water, compressor hours going down and managing their corners a lot easier, all in one spot. Matt, Mike, any concluding
Yeah,
comments
well,
you want to
I
add
was just
here?
going to jump in, Zach. I mean, you hammered a lot of the kind of really key talking points when you talk about even just kind of maintenance in a building, and especially when it comes to your ice management program. Is ice steps are key, right? And to be able to manage that depth, whether you're talking about efficiency on the plant, real consistency from day to day for your user group, um, and knowing what you need to do for maintenance out on your ice sheet, right? I mean, the ice depth reports and reporting and knowing what's going on there is probably the most important part. So, yeah, that's what I think. You hammered on a lot of different kind of talking points there, Zach.
I had somebody tell me one time, and I thought it was really good. When you take a measurement, it's the only time the ice gets to talk to you directly. You can eyeball it, you can think you know what you're looking at, but until you take a measurement, it's the only time that the ice is able to speak to you.
Oh, I agree, man.
And
I've been in
that's
countless rinks where asking about an ice depth report, and they say we don't need one. I can tell by looking at it. I mean, you could have cloudy skated through ice and it'd still be under half an inch. Like,
and there's
when you talked
some
about
eyes are better
liability
than
and
others.
different things, like, yeah, I mean, it's one of the key things, not only for your maintenance program, but also on the liability side. So, yeah, it's a big piece. And to think that you can just look at it and know what's going on, you can't, you have to measure it. So,
Mike, do you mind just taking 2 minutes to chat about the value of edging and documenting edge depths beyond just the standard 29 points? Why would someone want to collect like these 18 points or so around their kick plate?
yeah, that's a good question, Zach. You know what? I've only really seen a couple buildings do this, but I loved it, loved it. And and one particular example was an NHL building, and they do it before every game. Um, and they basically just go around the edge and do that depth check there, and then they write with a Sharpie kind of where things are at. So the person who is edging knows, how aggressive or where they need to back off the edger to keep those edges really nice and level and smooth. So, I mean, and again, if you do that consistently, it's a lot easier to maintain, whether you're talking about your corners or, so whether you have to go a little bit harder in your corners and then, ease up through your neutral zone as you're edging. But that again, obviously the machine doesn't get up against the boards, and that you rely on that edger to keep that ice sheet, as level as possible. So by adding this in there, I mean, that's another key tool as well.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, this is the value of technology and doing it digitally. And we're spending a lot of time on the A steps. We could spend hours discussing all these bells and whistles, but the end goal is being able to set alerts and reminders and emails or texts. So once your edges, the average gets over 1.75 inches, and once you have spots that are above 1.75 inches or 2 inches, sending out an automated email to a director or manager or the operator saying, hey, your edges are getting too thick. You should look at doing edging, adding that into your schedule today or tomorrow before it gets out of control or unmanageable. Whereas if it's in a paper book or if it's on a whiteboard, you have to walk by it, you have to see it, you have to actually take a real look at it, as opposed to having automated emails and reminders so you can keep your sheet as consistent as possible.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Even just like consistencies, just apart from this, I know a lot of community rinks have very little time, right? And they have programming that goes from first thing in the morning, basically, to men's league or adult hockey that goes till midnight. And if you're able to, take advantage of a few minutes here and there and keep that consistency throughout the day and really take advantage of those few minutes you have here and there, as far as, keeping that consistency for your programming is really helpful day in, day out. So I think we can all agree that, doing a little bit here and there day to day is a lot better than trying to carve out 4 or 5 hours on a Monday morning to shave down corners and do different things like that. And, it's another tool to help you achieve that. So.
Absolutely. Matt, in the last 30 seconds here, do you want me to just show quickly what we've just done this past week with the floor evaluation? Not that you've had the opportunity to now use it and now actually establish your levelness, but just quick what the data's been able to show you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Which rink do you want to do?
Let's do, oh, I don't know. We can do Euless, Letton, and Rink.
Okay, perfect. So
Actually, no,
do you,
do
yeah,
Richardson. Yeah, do
okay,
Richardson actually.
okay. Richardson Blue Rink.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to share a little bit of the background as to what this is, what you did, how we've done it, some of the sleepless
Yeah.
nights we had figuring this all out?
So like I was kind of babbling on before, I've come to the stark realization that we don't necessarily want 1.5 inches everywhere because all that's doing is following the contours of your floor. Um, so if your floor dipsy-doos, then your ice is going to dipsy-do. You might need 1 inch here and 1.5 inches there, wherever. So what we did is together we worked on using a laser, a flat level laser, and mapped the floors. So using a little bit of math and um, some science and technology that Zach has come up with, we got a map basically of this rink's floor, and now we know exactly where we want to be to maintain a level surface. And uh, it's in my opinion, it's the number one thing. The machine, the ice resurfacer works best when the ice is flat and level. So if that's the ultimate goal, then you need to know what your floor is doing. And to be able to see the deviation from where your target point is outstanding. I'm looking forward to using it.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So just as Matt said, the last one was us going out and doing an evaluation of the concrete floor. You can do it with ice in or ice out, preferably with ice out. But with ice in, there's a little bit of math about, okay, what's the ice thickness? What's the variance? Do you add or subtract if you're above or below? We don't want to get into that detail right now. But here's the floor. That was the floor we just showed, and here's the actual levelness. So here's the high spot on the floor of just over 1.25 inches. The current ice there is just over 2 inches. So combined, roughly 3.5 inches. And we can now go point by point and see with the ice added with the floor, how much off are you to that high spot. So here it's a little bit higher. Every other spot is lower. Again, this is new data they just had access to this week. But now, as opposed to our ice thickness, and is that just what our ice is supposed to be or what we're supposed to carry? Now they can see based on here, maybe if they cut 1 inch off here, maybe every other spot will be almost bang on. But they can use this now to see point by point what their ideal thickness is in comparison to their high spot without just guessing or eyeballing it in a line chart. So this obviously exaggerates it because it's very zoomed in. But across these 29 points, here's your floor. So like here's the high spot on the floor, and then here's your ice thickness. So just as Matt said, how even if you have a consistent ice thickness, it'll follow the variations in your floor. Your ideally, you want to have this blue line be straight or as straight as possible right across. And being able to have access to this data, now you can say, okay, this area here, we're going to need to cut more. Here, we're going to want to build a little bit. And we can see progress over a month or 2 months with this initial data. Our staff able to use this now to improve their operation and start to have more of a level sheet, whether you use self-leveling devices on your ice resurfacer or not. It always comes down to operator training regardless. Matt, any closing comments before we let you go?
Well, I was just going to say the one thing that I have to remember when I look at this graph is that some of these points too, the real heavy dips are going from one end of the ice to the other when you have your
Right.
point jump, a spot. You can probably illustrate that on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Just points 1 to 29. It's that whole snake pattern. So from here going this way, that's what it looks like 1 to 29. We can continue to have different ways of showing the data. The most important thing is that it's collected and structured the same way, and being able to compare center ice to goal crease, just different ways of visualizing your data.
Yeah,
Thanks, Matt.
absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Enjoy the rest of your
head
drive.
out. I've got some miles to put on the tires here. So I appreciate you letting me be a part though, Zach. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining. We'd love to have you. Be in touch. Mike, where do we go from here?
Well, I was just going to kind of summarize there, just a couple key points that you guys were talking about. I mean, it's data collection is big, right? So kind of having that knowledge based on kind of what you guys were working on there. I mean, now you can take that data, hard data that you've collected, analyze it, and then make adjustments to your programming or your ice maintenance plan, and then really improve on your overall conditions and your overall ice conditions based on having that data, right? So there's a real advantage to being able to kind of see that and collect that all in that one spot, and then like I said, being able to analyze it, read it, and then make adjustments to make your facility better. I would just say, based on kind of just looking at time, Zach, I know that we kind of wanted to finish, in about 45 minutes, so we got about 10 minutes left. So maybe, I don't know if there's any questions on more kind of the ice depths, and maybe just kind of high level talk about some of the other features that you've kind of developed working with some of the other groups.
Okay. So as some of those questions come in, I'll just do a quick overview of some of the other features that are available. And then if people want to learn about costs, happy to go through that as well. Flood cut logs. So if you're a member of ORFA, you get access to this at no cost to fill in all of your flood logs. We don't have time now to discuss the value and the importance and why you do it for those that don't currently do it, but you're able to pick, it's all drop down. So your staff can pull up on a cell phone, pick your facility. This is the Sensplex in Ottawa as an example, 9 sheets. You can pick your facility, your associated rink, your ice resurfacer, who the operator is. Everyone has their own login there. What was the previous program, hours on the machine, fuel, battery. The current time is pre-populated, so you don't have to fill that in. The duration of the flood, default 10 minutes, you can change it. Depth of cut, snow, water. Press submit, you can fill a flood cut log in 15 seconds. We have almost 30,000 in the system from October 1st. A lot of rinks that did it near the tail end of the season as they came on board. This is a rink that did it for an entire year from October 1st. 9 sheets. They started with 4 pads and slowly started to grow out. You can see here almost 6,000 flood logs. The data they can mine, if we have time, I can show you some of the reports about the average amount of snow, average amount of water. Certain operators, are they consistently cutting or flooding more on a Cartesian plane? It plots them, not to shame anybody, but just for data analysis. You can adjust all this stuff, but which ice resurfacer hours,
I'll
trending
just jump
that.
in, Zach.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Like you said, not to shame it's so that you understand what's happening. So I think we always as a group want to improve and get better. And if you're entering the data, maybe there's different things that need to be adjusted, kind of what's going on a day-to-day or even resurface to resurface to make things better. And by having that data collected, then you can take a look at it and adjust if you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And being able to put this up on a TV to see when the last cut was done, same with your ice steps, all in one spot. Extremely valuable. We could spend tons of time going through this, but at a high level there, that is. We went through the ice steps and what you're able to see, being able to pull up all of your historic results, export to PDF, your floor evaluation, your levelness. The ice resurfacer is a whole nother animal here. We'll touch on that near the end with Mike. Being able to do daily checks, weekly, monthly checks, your grease point checklist, service forms, track your blade changes as well. So we actually integrate and show how many cuts you're doing on each machine now. So that as opposed to just changing your blade every other Thursday, now you can see, okay, since the last date we changed our blade, let's say it was August 11th, how many cuts have we done since then? We're at 92 or 103 cuts. We want to change it every 100 cuts. There might be some variation if you had a busy tournament weekend, or if you had monster truck or a concert and you got to scrape a whole bunch of garbage off the ice and you got to change that blade after maybe 1 or 2 cuts, but still giving you analytics as opposed to just, I don't want to say blindly, but routinely changing every 2 weeks. Maybe you don't need to. Surface temperatures, we're coming out with a really cool Bluetooth IR gun so that you can go ahead and I'll just switch back to our demo area. But some places have building automation. They have one sensor that just gives them 1 point in reading, but you're able to go out and with this Bluetooth IR gun work the exact same way as an ice depth check does, and collect, if you want, 17 or 18 points on your rink, and trend those temperatures over a period of time. Whether you do this once a day, once a week, once a month, and see maybe do you have problems with your subfloor? Is there problems with humidity in the facility? Do you have a bunch of windows on one side that comes in? What's going on with your facility? You can track that now at a very high level without collecting, 200 points on your rink, geared towards community rinks that want to start to elevate that sort of data collection they have access to. Uh, Ice plant, your compressor logs, your plant readings, water quality checks, so tracking your TDS and your pH and monitoring that over a period of time. This is something that I'm really excited with is the notes section. So if you see this little green plus sign on every page, your staff can now, as opposed to the whiteboard that gets erased and added and information put on, you can select the rink, add a comment. So whatever the comment is about notice blades need to be changed, select who it is that's submitting it, press submit, and all of your notes show here that you can put up on a TV. So this is your digital whiteboard. Only you dismiss the notes for yourself. So if you've seen all of them, you've been in every day, you can dismiss it. If you've been away for 3 days, you can come in and see it so someone else didn't like clean that off the whiteboard. People put a lot of awesome notes in the system, all of your previous notes there, especially if you manage multiple buildings. And we've had some really cool suggestions to pin a note. So if you want everyone to see it and they can't remove it for, let's say, a week or so, if you have a development camp starting up, and an acknowledge button. So if you want to know that everyone in your facility has seen this, they can say acknowledge so that you can make sure everyone's all on the same page. Great tools just to make sure that your ice performance and your facility operation is top notch. Not to replace a work order system or building management, but just kind of an FYI as to what's going on with your ice operations. Tons of other bells and whistles that we're working on coming out. Mike, do you want to add anything to what I've shared so far?
No, I don't think so. Maybe just at the end, Zach, just kind of explain maybe the differences of options that you have,
Yeah.
so that's clear for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now so. Let me just show you here just some of the examples. So as we see here, the ability to put QR codes on your machines, scan it, and pull up the details of what's passed, what's failed, what's out of date that needs to be done, specific for each and every machine, as opposed to a logbook where you wouldn't know. You'd have to go through pages, see when was the last time it was done on this previous machine for a grease point, or doing battery checks. I think that was a good time, and Mike definitely will touch on those modules in a minute. Mike, any closing comments from your perspective? Single sheet facility, kind of comparing
Yeah.
yourself to Matt and the Stars.
Well, I don't know if I can compare myself to Matt and the
Well,
Stars.
complete opposite sides. Sorry.
Yeah, we're a single sheet facility that's roughly 56 years old, and the floor is original to the building. So, as far as the ice depth checks go, what I really like about the features within it is that you can kind of tailor it to the needs of your building. Obviously, most buildings that have newer floors, they're generally speaking more level, whereas mine, it's gone through 58 freeze and thaw cycles over the years. So I got some spots where, I have anywhere from like roughly a half to 5/8 of an inch of variation in the levelness of my floor. So having the ability to do more spots where I can more accurately target where my low spots actually are versus my high spots, and communicate this to my guys who don't do what we do every day. They're here maybe once a week or twice a week, has been very helpful. And more importantly, I think the thing that I like about this the most is how the system really does communicate with all of the other modules. So like Zach was alluding to earlier, every time you enter in a cut log, it references it with how many cuts has been done on that particular blade. And you can more accurately kind of forecast, all right, I'm sending a blade out, twice or once every 2 weeks for a sharpening, but based off of what my water quality says, what my cut schedule dictates, I may need to budget forecast for more blade sharpenings. or I can more accurately forecast what my energy and utility costs are going to be because, you know, I've got a Division One mini camp coming up where the guys are really going to beat my ice up, so I want to carry a little bit more. All those features and the fact they all talk to each other has been very, very helpful for us. And I saw you have my picture in there. I was about to say, hey, I know that guy scanning that barcode. This has probably been like out of the newer features, this is the one that my guys have really gotten on board with, because beforehand to do a cut log, they would have to come back to a side office, enter it in on like a Google form that was pinned on my desktop. And now they can just literally the split second they clean the augers out and the machine's dumped and it's off. I have a hard enough time getting my guys off the phone, with the exception of when they're driving a course. I could say, hey, scan the code, enter in your, you know, your simplified circle check for the night, or if one were due for a detail, they can do a detailed as well. It's really helped us stay on top of maintaining our equipment and our facility as a whole.
Thank you, Mike, for the kind words. Really appreciate your feedback. So being able to compare single pad facility, everyone has the same problems at the end of the day, regardless if you have one rink or 16 sheets of ice. But being able to automate it and digitize it and just have access to it, I think is really key. Thank you, Mike, for those kind words. I'm just going to share one thing. This is the end goal of where we want to get to, not to overwhelm or to scare anybody, but the value is with it being digital is the access to that data and that information. And we see a day in the near future where right on your mobile device or on your iPad or on your computer, being able to have these key widgets that show this sort of detailed information where you can toggle between your ice depth, your ice resurfacer, inspections, some alerts, all right from your mobile device in a clean widget. Getting back to Mike's point, so then before we can wrap up, pricing packages for this system, right now it's really simple. If you want all the bells and whistles, everything we've shown you today, the cost for a single sheet facility or for your first sheet of ice, it's $100 a month. For every additional sheet, it's $50 a month for all the bells, all the whistles. That was our pricing when we only had the ice steps. We've honored that for all the other bells and whistles. This includes staff, training, setup. Come October 1st, our pricing is changing. Potentially, we haven't fully decided, but it may go to, for new customers after October 1st, $200 a month for all the bells and whistles, and then $100 a month for every additional sheet of ice. If you just want the ice step check after October 1st, we'll honor that $100 a month and $50 a month. But that includes training, setup, the Bluetooth caliper you can get on Amazon, or we can ship it to you. It's around $200 Canadian, or we can source it for $100 US on Amazon. But that's everything that you'll need. And we're extremely confident and proud of the tool that we've built over the last 2 years, but really the last 9 months of growth, and the excitement and the kind words from folks like Mike Craig, Mike Petrocelli, and Matt McCarthy. If there's questions, comments, feel free to reach out. Does your company accept POs? Yes, we do. Feel free to, I'll put my email in the chat here if you want to email me directly about more specific questions. Mike, in the last 5 minutes or so, maybe a quick overview. Have I missed any questions that are the value of, for community rinks all the way up to 20,000 seat arenas, the benefit of utilizing a tool like this? Even if you have 3 or 4 operators and you have a tight operation, or if you've got 20 operators across 8 buildings, what do you think?
Well, we got 2 mics, Zach. So
Yeah,
sorry, Mike Craig.
let Mike P go
apologies.
first. Okay? Yeah, he's ready to jump on it, so you go for it.
Yeah. How do I want to word this?
Put you on the spot.
I'll put it this way. And Zach, I didn't even get a chance to tell you this. I was actually just out at the Coachella Valley Firebirds facility last week for the ORM course. For those of you that are familiar with US Ice Rinks, you know it's the operations and risk management. And the topic of logs actually came up, and we spent quite a bit of time talking about it. But the instructor, John, if you know, for those of you that happen to know John Monteleone, he brought up a good point. You know, don't get me wrong, paper logs are great. It's just a matter of making sure that they get filled out and they get stored correctly. You can't hide something that's stored in the cloud. You know, and that was really one of the key takeaways, is that if God forbid something does happen in your facility, whether somebody gets hurt or a piece of equipment fails that you're responsible for, you can go back and, you know, preserve those records and be able to access them pretty quickly. We had an issue not that long ago where one of our condensing fans actually went down on our roof, which caused our chiller to shut off, which, as you can imagine, in Philadelphia, when it's 100 degrees in the middle of the day, is less than ideal. But we were able to use some of the data that we collect to kind of give to our technicians to say, hey, this is what we suspect it might be based off of our numbers. And it saved us a lot of time on labor costs because they were able to identify the problem pretty quickly. So the digital aspect of having everything located centrally at one place that, you know, is safe and protected, that value, I can't even begin to describe how valuable that is.
Thank you so much, Mike. Yeah, great practical experience, and bang on from your usage of the tool and what you've seen traveling some other facilities. Mike Craig, Mike C.
Well, Mike, yeah, summarized that very well, really. Really not too much to add. I mean, other than, you know, as you kind of look forward in advancements in kind of not only our industry, but others, but, you know, data collection and having things digitally stored, I think is obviously the way of the future. You know, as again, I think we talked about it before, but it just as we try to improve on things and improve our operations, I mean, it, you know, having a tool kind of like this that's so easy to use and it is accurate as I think would be beneficial. So, you know, I'm more kind of worked with Zach over the last few months, and he's really kind of kept me up to date on kind of where things are and kind of where he's moving, and it's to be honest, like it's been really impressive. So I think it's a cool next step for our industry as a whole.
Thank you very much. We've got a few questions here. Sandy, does monthly change if I'm looking for ice depth only? No, so if you want the ice depth, it'll be the exact same. So the value now is you can get the entire platform for the same cost as just getting the ice depths after October 1st. I think that's what your question is. Wayne asked about some details on the Bluetooth IR gun. We'll have some details over the next few weeks coming closer to October-ish. We'll have a few devices that we'll be sending out and testing. There are Bluetooth ones out there. The only problem is that they're locked to proprietary apps for some construction companies. So we will have an update on one for Sub-Zero over the next little bit. If there's any other questions, feel free to reach out. If I get it prior to October 1st, yes, correct. If you get it prior to October 1st, you're locked in at that $100 a month for your first sheet of ice, and then $50 a month for every additional sheet of ice. Can you send emails so the purchase, please? So anybody who's interested in signing up, just feel free. Again, send me an email. I'll put it again in the chat, and I'll also follow up in the follow-up survey. If you check yes to learning more, then I'll send a follow-up email. Mike, I apologize. I lost our rough sketch of questions. Do you think we covered everything? Mike C?
Yeah, no, I think we did, Zach. I think that was good. Yeah, I hope yeah, everyone got kind of what they needed out of it and kind of saw some of the features that you wanted to show. But no, I think we definitely covered everything.
Well, thank you for everyone for joining. Mike Craig, Mike Petrocelli, and Matt McCarthy, thank you all for joining us here on the webinar today. And again, Terry's comments about the ORFA being a huge support of these tools is phenomenal. We wouldn't be here without that initial support and continued support from them. Owen, I will reach out to you directly. Don't you worry. I'll send you an email. And we will keep you all updated on future webinars coming over the next few months. But hope all of your ice installs go well, have gone well, or will go well over the next few weeks, and would welcome an opportunity to collaborate with your folks and get your perspective and your feedback on a tool like this to improve your operations and continue to help Rinks really right across the world. Thank you very much, everybody, and have yourself a great day.